Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Dr. Velasquez, Health Officer for Spokane County, and today I'm joined by the Executive Director and Founder of the ISAC Foundation, Holly Goodman, and I had to read it because it's a very long title. And we're going to talk a little bit about today about what the ISAC Foundation is doing in the community and why is it here. So, Holly, thank you for joining us today, this beautiful fall day. So, for those of our members of the audience that are not aware what the ISAC Foundation is, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah. So in Spokane and Eastern Washington, North Idaho, we serve families and individuals that have loved ones with autism, rare disorders, and developmental disabilities. Okay.
Are you focused on a particular region of the community, or is it the whole region, or how do you find that out?
It's the whole region, and we actually draw from North Idaho, even all the way up to the Canadian border with some of our events and activities, because when you find a space where you're comfortable and that you have those meaningful connections, you would be surprised how far and willing people are to travel. So really we serve Eastern Washington and North Idaho, and as long as people are comfortable getting to us, then there's really not a geographical area that we exclude. Obviously within Spokane, there are certain neighborhoods that we have a lot of participation from because, we're in West Central. So we have a lot of participation, particularly in West Central. But yeah, we, where people are comfortable, if they're comfortable and they want to participate, then we're that location.
Okay. So two words you use, participate and services. So how do people access your services?
So we have a lot of different services, so it kind of depends. Our mission is to build an inclusive community, one connection at a time, and that means that connection looks different depending on the population of people, right? Okay. So for family members, those services that they may need those connections for would be navigating the IEP process. It could be emotional support during, just there's waves of time where, you're feeling like you're sinking, and you need that community support or peer support. So that would be our coffee chats and our mix and mingles for parents. And as I said, you might struggle periodically navigating the IEP process. Sometimes it's navigating the complicated services that we have in terms of the Department of Developmental Administration, which now has a new name, and then even Department of Vocational Rehabilitation. Those are really big systems that really give people a lot of anxiety. So that's how those are the support programs and the supports for parents. For youth and young adults, that means we have an after-school program, we have a weekend program, and we also have special events, sensory supportive events that they can participate in to build those connections and feel like they have a sense of community. But for our partners, community partners, we do trainings for organizations that serve a population that includes the neurodiversity population, and so we provide training for staff, whether that be churches, whether that's daycare centers. So we do have continuing ed programs for educators, and then we are very heavily working with the first response population. So we have a nationally accredited first responder training program for police, fire, and search and rescue, because it does matter when you're doing a position like that where you're in law enforcement or fire EMS. It does matter having the appropriate training to know how to support those individuals in those calls. So when we say programs and participation, there's both, right? But we also then start getting professionals participating in programming because they enjoy it and they want to be involved in some of our events that support individuals with neurodiversity.
Wonderful. So every time we talk about neurodiversity or neurodivergent, there are a lot of misconceptions out there. Yeah. What would you like people to know about the folks that you work with, the families that you work with, the children that you work with?
Well, I think for our community members, I think it's really important to understand that we provide programming for people with or without an official diagnosis, because when you're neurodivergent, you may or may not have an official diagnosis or feel like there is a place specifically that addresses where your neuroprocesses are. So we serve a wide range of individuals that it might just be an ADHD diagnosis, it may be some mental health things combined with another co-occurring diagnosis. So I think it's really important to know that it's with or without a diagnosis because, and you'll notice our mission statement, we serve autism, rare disorders, developmental delays, and just, again, we're wanting to create an environment where everyone is welcome. With that being said, we also support and have a lot of neurotypical young people participate in programming as natural peer supports. We call that reverse inclusion because I think it's really hard when you're working with a diverse population, it's very hard, and we talk about the neurotypical processes and what is going on inside the mind of a person that's neurotypical. But really, I find the better secret sauce is pulling neurotypical individuals into our programming so they're experiencing it in a really organic way to understand that everybody has individual differences. Some have some crazy, amazing skills and gifts in some areas, but then they have some deficits or opportunities in other areas. But when we all come together, whether we're neurodivergent or neurotypical, we're actually, as a community, using our strengths, and then our strengths will actually fill in the gaps for other people where maybe they have some executive functions that need some extra support. So it's a really great model, and it's really good for both our neurotypical and neurodivergent population because, again, we're celebrating individual differences. And let's be real, we're all a little bit different, right?
Correct.
So it's a safe place for everybody.
Got it. So message for the community in terms of making everybody feel included, supported. What would you say to folks that don't know much about neurodiversity, neurodivergent?
I think don't be afraid of it. I think that unfortunately, history has proven that we segregate people that are different, right? So that's in special education, design learning environments. That's, old school methods were that we actually had institutions where we put people that had neurological differences or developmental delays or rare disorders. And so we've never really spent any time talking about neurodivergence, neurodiversity, right? We don't spend time in that space. So we talk a lot about LGBTQ+. We spend a lot of time talking about our different members of our community that are from different geographical areas. So some of our immigrant populations, but we never spend any intentional time talking about disabilities and individual differences. So how can we normalize those unless we're willing to get into that space where we're open to learning more and not being afraid to ask questions? And I know that when we have my 22-year-old son who's profoundly impacted by autism in the community, I can't tell you how many times I have families say to their loved ones, "Don't stare, it's impolite." And what you're basically saying is that we're invisible, right? And so I always interrupt when I can and say, actually, I love when parents will encourage their children to ask questions and be curious and learn more about what disabilities look like, right? Because then it's a way to normalize it and not have them feel like they need to not make eye contact, not make connections. And so I think it's just as a society we're hardwired to not draw attention to people with individual differences instead of being curious and want to know about it and how do I make a meaningful connection, because it looks different. The only way you're going to do it is if you immerse yourself in that environment, and that's what you can do at the Isaac Foundation.
Wonderful. So you've mentioned what I will call a lot of successful programs.
Yes.
Anything you want to highlight in terms of success from your organization that you want people to be aware of?
Oh my goodness. Well, I think for us, we have, I've never exited out a student or a youth from programming because, we have challenging behavior, but we can't just say, oh, well, they're not a fit for our program. What we have to really focus on is building skills so that they then are successful within our programming. And it takes time and it takes intention, and we have to have parent or caregiver meetings and maybe work with other providers to figure out how those individuals can participate in our programming. So I would say that my favorite success stories are the ones where we have real complex kids who have, I hate to, for a lack of a better way of describing it, is maybe have 3 striked out of other
Sure.
activities or organizations. And so they come to us and we are finding success. And how we measure success might look different than another student, because even within our diverse population of participants, everybody's working on different things, right? And so just being able to stay, 15 minutes without, an explosive behavior or, language that doesn't meet our standards of appropriate use of words, even 15 minutes can then be a success, right? And then we're building up to 17 minutes or 20 minutes or 25 minutes. So I think for me is when you have families and parents and caregivers that are saying that they finally found a place where there is a measurement of success and a community, I think that in and of itself just really speaks to how intentionally we put together these programs. And, I do have some students that come more during the school day or times where we maybe not have all of our after school numbers because we have to do things in smaller numbers. And I think that's fine. And we celebrate it and we work up to being able to participate with higher numbers. But I think that that's one of the things, having a 22-year-old that has very explosive behaviors, it's hard to not feel like you don't have a place or a space where you can be in. So I think that would be the thing that I'm the most proud of is that we can create a space and connections for students and young adults that have real problematic challenges, and we're working on still creating that space where there's connection.
Wonderful.
Yep.
So, any upcoming activities that you would like us to know about?
Yes, my favorite one is this Saturday, October 25th. At 2 o'clock, we do our practice trick-or-treat event, and I want to be clear about what practice looks like. It's trick-or-treating inside, so we have doors that are decorated, and then we have, of course, our parking lot that has trunks that are decorated. And when I say practice, it means that we're scaffolding it, meaning that first round of trick-or-treating is low, lights are on, there's nothing scary, there's no spooky sounds, there's nothing unexpected. And the goal is to have them go around and practice knocking on doors, maybe not, practice standing in line because sometimes we have to practice some patience. And then once the first round is done and completed, then we have second round. And in second round, things get a little more spooky. So now we have lower lights, we have things that make lights and movement and sound. And then also there might be it might be staged a little more spooky so that when they come through the second time, it's more, they've already been through it one time, so they know what to expect, how to expect it. But then when we add that layer of more spook or more sound or more movement or noise, then their tolerance, they know, so that's the practice piece. And some of them say, nope, not doing that because I don't want to do it, and that's perfectly fine. But for those that want to start working towards that, it's a great safe place for them to be able to do it. So I'm very excited about it. It's
Wonderful.
one of my favorites.
Sounds like a great activity, and it's apropos because Halloween is coming.
Yes.
So it's good to be.
And the nice thing too is on the 25th, you get 1 week then to take those skills and get them ready for the big day, October 31st. So.
Wonderful. So I want to say thank you to Holly and the ISAC Foundation for joining us today. And for folks that are watching, remember that a few weeks ago we did have a show on neurodiversity and neurodivergent traits. And we also had an op-ed on the op-ed, I hate that word, in the spokesman. So take a look at that, because the more that we all know, the better off we are. And
Builds a more inclusive community.
absolutely, and as we mentioned, we're a very welcoming community, so that should extend to all.
Absolutely.
And the fact that some of us think a little bit differently or wired a little bit differently doesn't make a big difference. It just means that the world is wonderful because we're a little bit different, and that makes it great. So with that, I'm going to say thank you again for coming. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We will see you again next week. And if you're curious, please go to the ISAC Foundation website so you can check things out. You can check the activity. And if you're interested, well, maybe we'll see you there next Saturday. Hopefully it's not going to rain. It's the only caveat. But be that as it may.
But we always have a backup plan to the backup plan.
Backup plan to backup plan is always good. So with that, we're going to say thank you. Again, have a great day. And we will see you again next week. Thank you.